Nerd Herd, we're back with our second installment of rookie running back breakdowns. We actually have some younger running backs to talk about this episode.
Wouldn't be hard.
We've got some slow running backs, too. Some guys really crawling along.
Could be a flaccid episode. Let's just dive in.
Ready, set, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
He's Jared Wackerly.
You thought about doing a long one there.
I didn't. You can't remember it.
I think you did, and you're like, damn, I didn't take a breath, though, so it's not going to be a good one.
Didn't even remotely consider it.
Not even remotely.
Not
Jared.
even remotely.
Not
It's
even
the vibe I got, and I was wrong.
remote.
You're a bad vibe picker-upper. You're bringing my vibe down.
He's a good vibe dropper.
You got to suffer and succotash on these balls.
Wow, okay, nasty
Wow.
boy. All right, Paul Abdul style over there. So
2 steps forward.
What is it, country
Show is
song?
off to a rousing
We're
start.
back with part 2 of our rookie running back breakdowns as four-parter. Is these running back classes a four-parter, which is
Right.
crazy for how tepid this class is.
The water is just.
Lukewarm.
I do think next 2 episodes, now they're about the same. Maybe slightly better.
Well, why don't we dive in and find out,
Let's-
boys?
Let's find out. Yeah. All right. First up is Braelon Allen, not a wide receiver,
Not a wide
not a
receiver.
running back.
A wide
Wisconsin.
running
I saw the W in Wisconsin and just went wide receiver.
Tidy whiteys.
So he's a running back from Wisconsin. He's 6'1" and a quarter, 235 pounds. I think he slimmed down for this combine.
Youngest guy in the draft.
9 and a quarter inch hands, 31 and a quarter inch arms. He's got a 76 and a quarter inch wingspan. Not bad. Just turned 20. You heard
He's
me right.
super young.
Just turned 20 in January 20th. Unbelievable.
Opposite of almost the
I
entire.
thought I read it wrong. I was like, oh, he's gonna turn.
No, he played almost his whole entire third season at Wisconsin at 19. So broad jump of 117 inches. He bench pressed 26 times. He had a vertical of 32 inches. He didn't do any of the speed drills, which doesn't surprise me. Last year in 11 games, 181 attempts, 984 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns, 28 receptions, 132 yards receiving, and 0 touchdowns in the air. Who wants to take this guy? Come on.
So Braelon Allen, you look at him, size, 6'2", 235, and his yards after contact, 3.66. And this is a guy that can come out and, with his youth, you're like, this is a guy.
This is a guy.
This is a guy.
And I will say this, because I only watched his 23 tape. And that's what I mostly try to do for a lot of these prospects, to stick with the year they're in, barring some kind of injury or something along those lines.
Yep.
And I did read that a lot of people said, hey, his freshman year, when he came out, had 1,258 yards, averaged 6.8 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. Was like his freshman and sophomore year was really good. And then Wisconsin changed their scheme, and he just never adapted well.
So this was this past season they changed it, right, to an air raid scheme.
Just for this 23, and he didn't fit that well.
And I wanted to note that as well, because I didn't know that going into watching the film, but I did find that out along the way. And then I watched a little bit more film kind of through that lens. So go ahead.
He's somebody that comes in, and, I mean, he's a big guy. He can run, but, I mean, I just don't – there's – for how big and strong he is, I don't see – somebody that makes a big difference. I don't see the speed really show up on tape. I don't see that he's out there breaking tackles very much at all. I don't think that he can escape the defenders, and I don't think he's extremely viable in the passing game. I think he can catch the ball, but I don't think he's gonna be out there running routes or anything along those lines. I don't think he's gonna be used in the NFL now. I want to say all that with a grain of salt, too, because he's so young.
He is so young. He's a hard eval.
Yeah,
he really is.
He can be molded in anything, but, from the tape, I don't see a lot of things where like I don't see great burst. I don't see great elucidity.
I love the use of new words. Just keep going.
I was gonna say elusiveness, but I had to throw the into that.
Everyone knows what you're talking about. Go ahead.
So I mean, he's big, he's powerful. You know, I saw a couple nice stiff arms. I think he'd be a nice short yardage back. But off the tape that I saw from 2023, like it looked like somebody who came to a new system that looked somewhat confused in where to go at times. Because wherever he did go, there wasn't a lot of juice there.
I feel like you're right. I think he was a bit of a square peg in a round hole this past season. I want to go back and actually watch a little bit of his 22 film, just to see what maybe he can be in a different scheme. But this was the guy that we were alluding to when we were talking about how I watched a game and a half of him and thought he should not even be drafted.
That was angry.
I was angry about him. Now, as I watched,
he called me angry.
You probably heard his name a lot, and you're like, "Wait, this is him?"
Exactly right. So I didn't have like a great base knowledge, but I knew I had heard of him, and I had a higher. I guess I had a higher in my brain kind of idea of what he was going to be rather than what I was actually seeing. So I was angry. It didn't make sense. I wanted more, and I eventually started seeing some things. So I think for his size, he doesn't always play as physical as you would want him to. And I can say that pretty easily, but there are times when he'll lower the boom on a guy and crush him in the open field. So if somebody said, "Hey, this is the new Braelon Allen, he's going to be like this 100% of the time. He's going to be this physical." There's something there.
I agree.
He had a great run versus Illinois.
But I just don't see it consistently enough. And then you throw on top that there was this scheme change. I have questions whether or not he wasn't a fit, and that's maybe why he's leaving when he's 20 and not sticking around after kind of a subpar year because he knows it's not going to get better for him there, or what.
He's somebody that I would have liked to have seen transfer. You know, we've seen.
I would love that as well.
A lot of running backs have started doing that. They're transferring to better situations, so that way they can really showcase their skills that kind of fit them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wish we would.
But here's what concerns me though as well is I would have been way more to like, okay, let me go back to that 22-21 tape. Let's get him the scheme, but then like 9'9" broad jump. 32-inch vert
doesn't run at the combine.
And then doesn't run at the combine. Like that tells me like that translates to tape more than I see. Like, oh, not an overly explosive kid, just like one of these big, young, strong kids who's a little athletic that could play the running back position. But like, I don't know if he can win I don't know if he could be a starter running back in the NFL. So and it's like, I know in Dynasty, a lot of people are getting attracted to this youth and how young he is and all these amongst all these old running backs. And, oh, dude, yeah, it's just like all the things that we're talking about, like the scheme change and what he did as a freshman. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like he'll be one of the more overdrafted players in my eyes because I don't see a lot of juice there.
So he's a weird guy because not only is he inconsistent with his maybe use of power and lowering his pads, he also seems inconsistent in his lateral explosiveness. There were times when it looked like he couldn't move at all side to side. And then there's times when he busts off this big jump cut. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Why didn't you use that more often?
That run versus Illinois where he had a big jump.
And I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
It seems to be when he's not a problem solver in the backfield because he is somebody that needs to build up speed.
Yeah.
And the times that I saw him be able to make some of those moves was when he already had a head of steam. And so I think he is somebody that is more of a build-up speed, which typically doesn't work. Now we have a guy like Derrick Henry where it did work.
Yep.
But to me, he doesn't have the same type of traits that Derrick Henry had, even though he says that they talk all the time and they're, which is great. That's who you'd want to be mentoring, a guy like this.
I thought that my grandma.
But does she mentor you?
I don't see her breaking off 20-yard runs.
So I kind of fell in line with you guys. I'm having a really hard time on my nerd score for him because it sounds worse than I actually feel about him.
Yeah.
But I can't give him good marks for explosiveness, for game speed, for burst and acceleration and quickness. Like, I can't give him even average marks.
Listen, I'm starting to do nerd score stuff, and I may have a hard time quantifying a number when at one play it looks like a 4, and another play it looks like an 8. Where do you put that number?
Right.
Because there's just no consistency in the play I've seen.
In the middle.
Do you, though?
I don't know. I'm not doing work on my nerd score. You are.
So he ended up with a 66.7 for me, which I feel like how I feel about him is more like a 70.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part is typically what I feel about a player and the number that spits out are pretty darn close. This is one of those few times where I feel like I'm having a hard time being able to put the right numbers to put how I feel. But all of that being said, like I don't think the explosiveness is there. I think he's got decent vision. I do think that he can be a physical player. What does give me hope is that age.
When he starts drinking.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be an angry drunk. And then but I think if he can get with an NFL team, he can get with the right running back coach, he can get
How many people does this guy get him with? You just horn this guy around.
Basically. I think that there's an opportunity for him.
Sometimes getting loose is what you need
to develop.
This young man's about to get frisky.
I think there's room for him to develop, but drafting a guy as highly as you will likely have to draft a Braelon Allen as a project is going to be really difficult for me to do in my rookie drafts.
As a dynasty fantasy football prospect, who's going to be a first and second down guy, who's not a third down guy, who's not very viable in the passing game, I need some of that juice. I need some of that explosive, definitely for his size and what he does. Like for him to win on the fantasy football scale, right? Like not from the NFL scale. I'm not saying this kid is going to be on an NFL team.
For sure.
He's viable. But for him to be a fantasy football provider, to give you points, to have that consistability, like
he invented that word like a month ago.
I know,
and
he's wrote it.
Guy.
Yeah, like I don't.
He is. He's going to have to be a 10 to 12 touchdown guy.
I don't. He's going to be one of those people that are going to you're going to draft. He's going to be on your taxi squad. You're going to promote him off your taxi squad because he's only 22 years old after he's been on your roster for 2 years. He's still on the NFL team. He's not going to be the kind of guy that you're going to put in your starting lineup because when you do, you're not going to win.
To me, he's a Zach Charbonnet with much worse feet. Like that's
Zach Charbonnet catch the ball well.
I had him graded about a 70. I think I had his speed a little higher than you, Garrett. And
I have him at a 5.
I do think he's a build-up speed guy, though, like you were saying, Matt. Like his burst, I didn't see much burst there. I thought he had a really nice stiff arm, though. I thought he did a good job of using that.
That's my plus.
Especially amongst everyone I watched. I think his stiff arm was probably the best as far as using it.
Strong kid, big strong
kid. For how big he is, I think he's actually a pretty good athlete. Like I saw some functional movement in his movement, and I agree with Garrett. I thought his vision was pretty good. So I think there is potential here for this kid. And I did see the same thing as you, Rich, with like his tape from this year was not as good as his tape from years prior. And I know a lot of people in like the Devy space, like he was a talked about guy. Like this guy's
it was him and Travion Henderson.
Yeah, I knew his name. Like I knew, I was excited to go into his tape.
And everyone kind of came away a little underwhelmed, from this past season. So he's gonna get some draft capital. We don't see 6'2", 245 guys come around often. And
I can't imagine he gets past round 4 at the worst.
I think Rich might be right though, just due to the name factor and his size. Went to Wisconsin. Like he might be an overdrafted guy, just
in rookie drafts.
Rookie drafts, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So I can't see me being able to take a guy that I view as a project as high as he's going to go.
And he's not off my board.
No.
I think he's young enough and he's got past production where with the right coaching staff, he could turn into something. But that something's probably a couple years down the road.
He's got a couple years to burn, man. Dude's 20 years old.
Which he does. Yeah. And that's why he's not off my board.
Yeah. If he was one of these 24-year-old guys, it'd be different.
He falls forward. He gets yards.
Yeah, he's not the worst thing that I've seen yet at all. And he's intriguing because of his size. But like I'm very hard pressed. Like he needs to do a lot to become fantasy football relevant. Like again, because we're talking guys like remember like PPR leagues, like which is where we all play. Like you need some of that. Like, right? Like if you're just a first down guy where he's coming in, yeah, he's getting carries. He's getting 10 touches a game, but he's getting you 55 yards a game. Like which is okay in NFL, like for an NFL team, but like his 5.5 points per game isn't making a difference for you, right? So like that's where my hardest thing with him is like, where does he turn into a dynasty fantasy football roster?
So this is the last thing I'll say on this guy. His good is really pretty good. I do like when I see it. I'm like, okay, I can see how this will function in the NFL. The bad stuff, that's the stuff I was watching when I was angry and writing Rich about. I don't even think this guy should be drafted. Like I'm that polarized on this guy. Like he could be a second round draft pick.
He's getting better
if it was all the good stuff. And he could go undrafted if it was all the bad stuff and just not even be in the NFL. Like, so he's that polarizing to me. But what I don't want to do is make the mistake of writing him off like I did Kyron Williams a few years back. I want to try to learn from that lesson and give this guy a shot to get better. He is super young. And so where Kyron Williams, maybe I didn't see some of the good. I didn't even allow myself to see some of the good. I'm not going to do that to Braelon Allen. I'm going to take the good and say, this is his potential. He's only 20 years old. If he gets in the right system, if he gets to the right coaches and they weed out some of that bad stuff he does and make him shine with some of the good stuff that he does, he could be an excellent player.
He needs to be confident, a one-cut runner, get up north, get a little bit more wiggle in those hips, use that vision and trust your size and just to beat that secondary.
Just go and be physical. You're a big physical back. Go be physical.
You know what pissed me off in his film? It was his pass protection. Like he was always catching. And like getting pushed back, and he's 6'2", 245.
He's got to learn that.
I had a really hard time with his pass protection because
soft.
Because I gave him a good score even though his technique was poor.
He still got the job done.
But he got the job done.
Dude, there's
every
a lot
time.
Of
I agree.
Every time.
He caused the quarterback to come off his mark and make a bad throw. And
he crushed a dude. Was it?
I gave him
it might have been Buffalo. He crushed a dude in
pass
pro.
You gave him a 5?
I mean, he leveled him.
All right, maybe I need to go back because
I watched a lot of games.
I gave him an 8.
I gave him an 8 too.
Yeah, I think he got the job done for his quarterback.
Right, and I think it's something that can be improved upon very easily.
You're getting pushed back in the lap of your quarterback. That's not getting the job done to me.
I mean, every running back gets pushed back.
NFL level, it won't work.
Very few running backs are going to be able to deliver the type of punch that they're not getting pushed back. Almost every running back gives ground to some extent.
You got to buy time.
It was causing the play to become broken.
All right, I'll go back and watch and see.
I think it was the Buffalo game. Try to watch the Buffalo game and
I don't have the Buffalo game marked down that I watched.
I think I watched it. I think it was on the YouTubes.
Okay.
So go check it out.
That's Buffalo.
But he crushed him.
he should. That's what was pissing me off.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm not saying he needs to level the guy every time, but dude, I mean, he's playing patty cake.
All right, next up, Jaylen Wright, Tennessee running back, 5'10.5", 210 pounds, 9 3/8 inch hands, 31.5 inch arms, 75 7/8 inch wingspan. He is also 20 years old. He'll be 21 on April Fool's Day. He ran a 4.38 in the 40-yard dash. He had a 1.55 10-yard split. He didn't run the 20-yard shuttle or the 3-cone. He had a 134-inch broad jump.
All time.
38-inch vertical. 134 inch.
38 inches. Dude, 11 foot 2 inches he jumped.
It's nuts.
Ridiculous.
One of the all-time best ever.
In 12 games last year, he had 137 rush attempts, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns, 22 receptions, 141 receiving yards, and no additional touchdowns.
Jaylen Wright, when watching him, it reminded me, I talked earlier, I've had a few different guys where comps have seemed to come a little bit easier for me in this class than some others have. And he was a guy that it reminded me of a poor man's guy that we had last year in Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they have some similar skill sets and similar style play to their game. I don't think he's as good as Jahmyr Gibbs.
He's not as explosive.
He's not as explosive overall as Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's a similar play style and similar effectiveness with that play style. I mean, the guy made plays in almost every game he was in. You could point to at least one play where he made a game-changing type play. Whether that was, a long breakaway run, making somebody miss in the open field, a nice catch,
getting some extra yards with the spin move.
Yeah,
loves that spin move.
He does love that spin move. And he's got a decent dead leg too. He can make some guys miss in the open field. So overall, I was very impressed with his tape. He has really good game speed overall, the burst and acceleration, the quickness. He doesn't have the best contact balance overall, and there's not much of a physical element to his game.
He's not a pile mover. He doesn't get pushed backwards though a lot. I noticed. So he's drawing stalemates out there at least.
Right. So he is somebody that, to be a more complete back, I would like to see a little more physicality in his game. But I think he has so much success with being able to make guys miss that he leans on that. He is somebody that is a problem solver. When I talked before about Braelon Allen not being able to be a problem solver, Jaylen Wright is. And you can see that he does a good job at times of – now, granted, there were some times his offensive line made some awesome holes and awesome plays for him. But there were some other times where he made his offensive line look good.
He'll flash.
Yes.
He'll flash one hole and go to another spot.
And that was one of the things. He pressed the line really good and then was able to make that quick decision to be able to bounce. And that's something that you can try to teach guys, but most guys, they either have that ability to understand how to press.
That's an instincts. That's what we were talking about, the instincts of being a running back earlier.
Le'Veon Bell did best.
Yeah, he was fantastic at that. And Jaylen Wright has that in his game and in his repertoire. So he has the ability to make his offensive line look good even if they're making mistakes.
And Breece Hall is the best example of a guy that can do that right now and did it fantastic coming out of college.
Iowa State,
yeah.
Yep.
Like watching a video game. I thought Jaylen Wright was the second best running back easily I've watched so far.
Agreed.
Of these last 2 days, like easily. And when we talk about combine before, where does it translate to tape? Like this translates to tape. His speed, it's really nice. For somebody who's super athletic, I didn't think he was laterally as explosive as I would hope he would have been for. Again, just for what I saw, like the kind of player he is, I thought he'd move better laterally than he would. But I mean, I liked a lot. You mentioned how like every game you would see something big. This is somebody who he had out of 136 carries, 19 out of 136 carries went for over 15 yards. Somebody who ran over 10 yards on 25% of his runs, right? So he is a big play waiting to happen. And like you said, a lot of that has to come getting to the line, doing the press, getting outside and hitting a hole and going. And obviously his speed, that translates very well. Very good in the passing game as well. Catch the ball really well. Thought his really good stop-start ability was really there. Not really gonna break, like Matt said, like not overly physical. Not gonna break a lot of tackles that way either. So
I think in the open field he can get some extra stuff off DBs. He's not going to grind out any yards with linebackers or defensive linemen or anything like that.
Yeah, so like you don't like his contact balance, but I thought he had good balance off of contact.
So agree to disagree.
I mean, like I thought, like
Explain what you mean.
Explain yourself.
So like I don't think he's overly physical. But like I think he could bounce off. Like I thought he did a really good job like bouncing off hands and moving that way when people got like he's not going to break a lot of tackles to be overly physical.
The level of actual contact. How about
that?
Okay.
Like
so he does a good job of bringing like arm tackles.
Yeah, like his balance there was like he didn't like just go like a Gorendo, right? Like see ya, like
go right down. You mean
yeah, go right down. Like he's not a physical runner. He's not going to break a lot of tackles, but I thought he was
physical enough
for his play style. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
He going back to like,
I thought he had good pad level. How about that? I thought he had a nice pad level. I do think he used a spin move. I mentioned it earlier.
That was nice
to kind of effectively maybe get glancing blows. You know what I mean? Not take on full
guys
hits.
being able to square up.
Yeah. And if guys can't square up on him, I do feel like he's got enough contact balance to kind of make that work in the open field.
Kind of a fellow schoolmate, right? Like a not as shifty Alvin Kamara.
I don't love the Alvin Kamara stuff for him. I see why people are drawing the comparison. Alvin Kamara is just a much better running back than him.
Alvin Kamara is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
He's all-time fantasy.
Can I say one thing that did kind of bug me though? Because we've spoken pretty confidently in him, and rightfully so. He's second best guy so far. One thing that did drive me nuts though, he really did not want to run between the tackles. Like watching him play, any opportunity to not have to run between the tackles, he took it. He took it. And sometimes I think that was the right decision. There are times where it's much wiser to be able to bounce outside, and he has the moves to be able to make that look correct. But I think that there were times that the more effective route was straight up the middle, and he I don't know if it's going back to the physicality thing or what it is, but it seemed like he really tried to bounce as much as he could get away with.
And to add on that and kind of get back to a point that Rich was making, or kind of counter a point that Rich was making, you were saying that you think the speed lines up with what you see on tape. I disagree to that on that a bit. I don't think he's slow by any stretch of the imagination, but right off the bat, you set out the Jahmyr Gibbs comp, and Jahmyr Gibbs was 0.02 seconds faster than him. He was a 4.36. This guy's a 4.38, and I think they're night and day as far as game speed. I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is just much quicker and much faster than Jaylen Wright here. So that's because I think a Jahmyr Gibbs can get away with going outside and making more plays and making more yards out there. And I think he's fast. Don't get me wrong, he's fast. He's just not that one gear more that you need to be a huge difference maker at the NFL fast. He's not that fast.
It's funny too, because the first game I watched, I believe it was versus Georgia.
Oh, the very first play of the game?
The very first play. So complete opposite of both what you're saying. Very first for the
one carry, 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Yep.
In between the tackles and burns everybody.
Rest of the game,
wide open.
Rest of the game, 8 carries, 15 yards.
I'm just saying, it was just funny. Both your guys' complaints was the very first play I ever saw of them. It was versus Georgia. First carry of the game, in between the tackles. I'm like, ooh. Oh,
see,
this is gonna be fun.
It's right when he goes up the middle, and he's always trying to bounce it up.
So, and I just see a lot of opportunity here with the Jaylen Wright for fantasy football production, right? Like, I like his patience behind the line. You're right, he does get a little outside. I would like to see him in some outside zone schemes there to get him the football. I love his ability in the passing game as well. So,
very good pass catcher.
I see a lot of opportunity for him to be a viable fantasy football running back here.
Lastly, the last note I'll say, because I echo a lot of what you guys are saying, I wonder, with his skill set, is he a complementary player, or is he a guy that can carry the load? And that's
my guess is probably more of a complementary player, which is not a huge deal in today's NFL. Austin Eckler was a glorified complementary player.
Tony Pollard type of guy.
Tony Pollard, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Him and Braelon Allen together would be a
super soldier. Super soldier. But I did like his game. I forgot to mention he got a 74.48 for me. So it was a good score. 74.83 is the highest so far with Jonathan Brooks, though.
Yeah, he was my highest graded running back so far. He's 74.6. A guy I've been high on for a really long time. Actually was pounding the table for him coming in his freshman year at Tennessee. He got a little banged up that year. But cool to see it come through fruition, especially for my Devy rosters. I thought he had really good feet.
Very good feet.
Saw the holes well. I had his patience and his vision both marked at an 8. I didn't really pick up on the bouncing too much thing that you were mentioning, Garrett, but I'll have to go back and pay attention to that. But I thought his speed did show up. I thought he was extremely fast and had that juice, and just something that didn't pop out on anyone else's film so far amongst this group and yesterday's group. But I agree, doesn't break a ton of tackles. Not super elusive, but another guy that's shifty enough. So I think he could end up being the top running back taken, just given some of the things that he offers.
Today's game.
His jump cut ability helps his
and he's young
shiftiness
too.
a little bit.
He's super young. Yep.
There's a lot to work with there. And Tennessee's not really known for they rotated him in and out a lot with 2 other guys, and I'm surprised.
There's a lot of SEC schools that do that, where they rotate their backs quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't give it to him more, because he's best running back I've seen in this class so far. Jonathan Brooks and him are both like 1A, 1B for me right now.
His draft capital will give him a boost. I think NFL teams don't want him on the roster.
Yeah, I could see him going round 2.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see once, we line these two guys up, because I think for us, we're all, the one thing that is fairly consensus with us of everybody that we've watched, and I think we can safely say even the guys we're going to talk about, these are the top 2 backs.
And you know what? I know this sounds like a cheap,
Definitely,
because you could say this. I know you could throw this anywhere on anybody, but he'd be a really good fit with Isaiah Pacheco and the Chiefs. Like
Sure.
He'd be a really good complimentary back to Pacheco. Let Pacheco play out the last year of his rookie deal, and then give him another opportunity. Like he'd be a really good fit on the outside of Pat Mahomes. There, I think he'd be a really good fit.
I think he's a great fit with somebody that's going to be a banger. Anyone that doesn't catch passes, I think he would complement them really well. I just question whether or not he can take that next step and become a every down back. So that's the only concern kind of I have with him. And not that I have him as a bad speed guy. I don't want it to make it sound like that. But 4.36, 4.38, it just looks different, Jahmyr Gibbs versus him to me.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs burst is better.
I think there's something there.
Yeah, there's something.
That
I agree with you. There's something that with Gibbs
that differentiates
than Wright.
His start ability, his whole overall explosiveness is different.
So I wanted to make sure that was out there.
You're not saying he's slow. You just don't think he's elite fast.
Exactly.
And maybe a guy like Jaylen Wright, though, Matt, isn't the kind of guy that you want to be that 3 down every single down back.
I don't think so.
Maybe the way he wins is 2022 Tony Pollard, right? Where
totally.
Hey, he fixed with that Zeke Elliott, and all of a sudden you do put him in that role, all of a sudden everybody's disappointed.
Yeah, Austin Eckler.
It's not a good fit. So maybe his best role is going to find into that mold. And what we've learned is, again, those are very relevant fantasy football
for sure.
players, and that's where he wins. So
PPR gold.
I don't love this guy. I don't love Jaylen Wright because I'm like, he's a 3 down running back. He's coming out there. He has the skill set that scores fantasy football production. I want him on there second and third down. I don't need him in first down. I need him on there. I need him to be about 15 touches a game.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
You want him to kill the end of the half and kill the end of the game.
And 6 or 7 of those to be receptions.
Mid-range to high-end running back 2, where some weird year he ends up as a running back 1 once. That's the kind of upside I see with him.
Where we're at right now, his nerd score comes out right around Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, Travis Etienne, where I don't think he's going to get round 1 capital like Etienne did, but those are some good names.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I'm not viewing I think Jonathan Brooks has the upside of being a running back 1, but that's what's enticing about him.
They're different running backs.
Completely different running backs.
They win differently.
Mm-hmm.
At least he can win fantasy football wise, and he can be on my dynasty roster for about 3 to 5 years, and I could start him.
I just wanted to make sure it was mentioned the type of guy you're probably getting your hands on.
Okay.
And that's it. That's why I mentioned it.
I think the one thing with Jonathan Brooks too is he's got the height and the build to fill out a little bit more and to get into the 220s and a little more. I don't think you're adding much more weight, so I don't know that the physical component will ever be there for.
You don't think Wright can get bigger?
For Wright, not much. I mean, almost every guy's going to add 5 pounds or so once they get to the
I think
NFL.
it's the body type thing can get a little bit bigger.
But
me too.
He looks sometimes a little thicker.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I think Jonathan Brooks is a guy that I think could end up playing at a 225.
I mean, how tall is he too? He's 5'10" and a half, right?
Yeah, where Jonathan Brooks is 6 foot.
5'10" and a half. So he's not small.
He's pretty average.
I think he could grow a little bit more.
Maybe. I would be shocked if we see Jaylen Wright ever be a physical player. But maybe I'm wrong.
For the push.
I thought he was just as physical, if not more, than Brooks.
Hey guys, let me tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Guess what? Our app the mini is live on Sleeper right now. The Dynasty GM.
Pretty.
You can use the analyzer. You can use the trade calculator. And my favorite thing is the inbox, right? Where all your trades from all your Sleeper leagues are right there. You can actually push trades through the actual Sleeper app. And right now, we couldn't be more excited to be partners with them. And right now, if you don't know, they are doing DFS. And I know how many people that play Dynasty play DFS as well. And right now, there's not a better place to play DFS than Sleeper. They're offering up to 100 times your entry, the highest payout in the whole DFS market right now. You can track your fantasy players and your Sleeper picks in real time. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live in-game, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats And only on Sleeper, you can get up to 100 times your payout. You can share with your friends and get rewarded together. Make sure you use that promo code NERD so our friends know that friends sent them their way. And get your deposit match and have a good time. You have all your DFS, all of your fantasy leagues, and now even a Dynasty GM in one spot. It is fully operational inside Sleeper right now. And then when you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that full access to that. And remember, you also want to download the Dynasty Nerds app because they're both in there. Check it out. Check our friend Sleeper. Check out the DFS. Use that promo code NERDS.
Get your whole estate. All right, moving on. Next guy up, Jase McClellan. Alabama running back, 5'10" and 3/8 inch height. 221
He has
pounds.
some big hands. You were going to say hands.
It was. He does have some big hands, 10 1/4 inch hands, 31 1/8 inch arms, 75 1/2 inch wingspan. He is 21 years old. He'll be 22 on the 25th of June.
He's like the only one with a normal age.
He is very normal. He does not have any scores for any of the speed stuff. He benched 20 times. Last year at Alabama, in 13 games, he had 180 attempts on the ground, 890 yards, 8 touchdowns, 15 receptions, 137 yards receiving, and no additional touchdowns.
Jase McClellan.
Jase McClellan.
He is
The epitome of fine.
He is fine. Here's my biggest
It's like
question
Damian
mark.
Harris coming out of Alabama.
He
like,
kind of
it's
is.
fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
like can he create on his own?
Sometimes.
Sometimes
That's my biggest question mark for him because he'll get you what's there, and he's a very fine running back, and he catches the ball well, he runs the ball well there, but can he create on his own? Can he take a step and be a feature running back? Because to me, I look at him as just a complimentary running back that belongs in the NFL, is a nice running back, knows what he's doing, does everything fine, but doesn't do anything that really tips the scales. It's like, I gotta get this guy on my roster. Like he's very Joe Blow. He's the definition of a jag.
I wish I had more to add.
Decent power.
I really don't. Like he's really good at everything, or not really good. He's good at everything, and not great at
Other than
anything.
pass pro.
Yeah, his pass pro is not great. I agree with that. I thought I saw decent burst on some of his runs. Like I think once he hit that hole, he would hit it pretty quickly and decisively.
Does anyone know what he came in as? A 5-star?
He was a 5-star. He
Yeah.
was. I think he was the number one guy in his class.
Tore his ACL in 2021.
Yeah, you got injured early on.
Okay.
And maybe that took away some of what he has.
And he was, Alabama's always a tough place for running backs in general. He was supposed to be kind of the guy, and then Gibbs transferred in,
Sure.
and it kind of rocked the boat with that for him.
Don't forget
And
Josh Jacobs.
he was still involved. He was still involved there, when Gibbs was playing. He was still part of the equation and the rotation. But I completely understand where you guys are at, and that's kind of what my score reflects. I have him at a 68.4, which is not like a bad score, but it's not a good score either. It's one of those scores where if everything were to fall right, he could be something. And I think that's the tricky part with him is there are traits that I could see him improving upon. And so like there's some guys where there doesn't seem like, I'll go back. I know you like him more than I do, but like Ray Davis, I don't see where he could improve.
Yeah.
I could see that with Jase. Like I could see that with him. And so I want to leave that open as a possibility where the right team, the right system, like especially former 5-star guy, like that's interesting. There was something there that didn't quite fully get to where we've seen some other Alabama backs get. But in no time of me watching him was I was like, I don't like him. Like,
Matt
that never
started off
happened.
perfectly saying he's very fine. Like he's got really good vision.
I liked his vision.
Yeah, I liked his vision. I thought, but what sucks is like, and that's what you're saying, and what like even you saying with the fineness is like you could tell like he sees what needs to happen, but like he doesn't have that explosiveness, or ability to make it happen. Right? Like he knows where to go. He knows what to do.
He's a dime a dozen.
He's not special from a speed or burst standpoint. He's
At
got
all.
enough to be in the NFL
For sure.
More
than enough, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he has nice lateral agility in like small confined areas. He can get to a hole and kind of make a guy miss in a hole. Like he's not gonna make anyone miss in the open field. He's not that type of guy, but he can move just enough laterally, I think, to do that kind of stuff.
Did you have a score? Did you spit out a score? I had a 68 on him too, Garrett. So we were pretty much in line.
I'm not ready to share my scores quite yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Mine was slightly,
so just so everybody knows,
lower.
like,
I think mine was like 65.
Historically, Garrett and I have done the nerd scores, but we, Rich and Matt are
toying around with it in the background.
Yeah. Since they do the breakdowns.
Matt's dipping his toe in the water. Yeah. I'm still just looking at the water.
Yeah.
Seems questionable to me.
I got scores for certain things. If I sat down, I could. The problem is, like, I have so much tape to watch.
Yeah.
And he has okay power. You know, like he has some grind out ability, and so in the right situation, he could for sure find himself in a starting gig for a short amount of time. But I think they're always going to be looking to get better at that position.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there was an injury and he filled in for the second half of a year, they wouldn't next year be like, we have our starter. They would be like, we need to go find a starter if that other guy was done forever.
His wiggability?
His wiggability is
not bad.
Not bad. It's okay.
Got a little wiggle in that jiggle.
Yeah, just a little though.
Just a little.
Just enough.
Enough. Everything he has is pretty much like enough.
Just
like
enough.
So it's weird because and that's the thing too. When you look at him, you're like, oh man, that's a running.
That's
back
a running.
Right there.
You want him
5'10",
first
221.
off the bus, right?
You're like, that's a guy right there. This is a guy that's gonna show me something. And you walk in, and you're like, oh, okay.
He showed me a little something.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Like, this is gonna taste flavorful. I'm like, that's a good glass of water.
All right, so let's move on. Right, we can all agree that he's an okay, all around.
Maybe
him or Ray Davis for you.
I probably won't draft him in any.
It would be Jase for me, over Davis.
Me too.
I
got
think
a lot of years, a lot of extra years with Jase.
And you remember last show where I said in the beginning, I was like, all these guys, I could kind of rank them, but where they end up in their draft order is going to dictate it. That's exactly how that will play out.
That's why I think you should do the score. It would help you with that, I think. Like, sort these guys out a little bit prior to.
Got 10 years of consistability going on.
Yeah, you know it.
Right more than I'm wrong, but thank God. I need it. Guys, I got to tell you about my friends at UnderDog Fantasy. Right now, they have the pre-NFL Draft 2024 Best Ball is live on UnderDog. Draft your favorite rookie sleepers you've discovered in the Dynasty Nerds film room. Play in $3 contests all the way up to $1,000 contests. Draft your team and never worry about setting a lineup. You need to get in on this action ASAP. Sign up at UnderDog with the promo code NERDS. And UnderDog will double your first deposit up to $100 for new members only. And yes, Dynasty Nerds is still giving new users a free Nerd Herd and Dynasty GM annual bundle membership with your deposit of $10 or more at UnderDog by using that promo code NERD. So you get all our tools, all access to the Nerd Herd by putting a $10 deposit down in there. Your Dynasty Nerds promo code will be sent by email within 48 hours of sign up. New members only. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where UnderDog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-HOPE-NEW YORK. In Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789.
All right, so moving on to our next consistability guy, Frank Gore Jr., Southern Miss, 5'7" 5/8 inches, 201 pounds, 8 1/4 inch hands, 29 5/8 inch arms, 70 5/8 inch wingspan. He is 21 years old as of 3/13/02, or 3/13/02 is his birthday. What's the date today?
15th,
13th. Okay, so tomorrow's his birthday. He'll be turning 22 by the time this podcast comes out. He didn't run anything.
Not surprised there.
He had 12 bench press reps, which
is low.
I probably shouldn't have done it if 12 was the number you were going to get. Last year in 12 games, he had 231 rush attempts, 1,131 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns, 27 receptions, 221 yards receiving, and an additional 3 touchdowns.
Remember that DNA thing I was talking about?
I do.
Yeah, we got another one that falls into that bucket.
How long are his arms?
Not long. 29 5/8.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to pick the apple off that tree. Those weren't long enough.
I was like, oh, he's alligator arm it. And I'm like, oh, never mind, just his arms.
Man, I wanted to like Frank Gore Jr. more than I did.
So did I.
Me too.
I really wanted to like him. And I've heard some people, even the one tweet I put out, he's in the top 5 for some people.
That guy has no idea what he's talking about.
But all of that being said, watching him play, the speed was not nearly as good as I thought it was going to be for an undersized player. He
changes directions.
He changes directions decently well, and I think he had decent contact balance for his size. I just don't know that it would work at the next level with that type of competition. Okay in the receiving game, there was just, but
You're
that was
naming
it.
all the highlights.
Yeah, even like for a guy that's a former NFL Suns back son, I don't know. I said that weird.
Sack out the sack.
But
But
you can
like
tell he's got that like footwork and all that kind of stuff.
the
like,
footwork's there,
hand on
like
the ground to stay up.
he
like,
understands like some of the detail things.
Yeah.
But like I even thought I would have thought his like vision would have been better than it was, and it was fine. But it was like there was nothing that was like, oh, he gets it like his dad did. Like that wasn't there.
He blocks good.
it's unfair sometimes too.
It is. It's mean.
Yeah,
it's mean. Like your dad was a Hall of Fame back. Like
Right.
you were a Division I guy that made it to the combine. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
But not for what we're doing. Like I don't see a real path for Frank Gore Jr.
No burst. Not very quick. Not
I
very
feel like
fast.
he's quick. He's just not very fast.
Not great size.
I liked his contact balance a lot. I thought he blocked really well.
Me too.
Me
too.
I thought he could. I thought he could run routes, which was kind of nice.
It's fine.
But those guys, when they get hands on him, he's going down.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just he's not an NFL running back. Unfortunately, if I was doing like my nerd score, like he would grade out as one of my lowest.
Would you
running
get
backs I
Garrett?
watched.
Would you get
He was. So I had two guys that I didn't have quite enough tape where I felt confident to get. Like for me, I have to have 4 games before I will put down a score. I was able to get 2 of his. I got to find more. He was another one that was hard to find tape on.
He looks like his dad.
He does look like his dad. That helps.
Smaller.
That's a pro.
Shorter.
Yeah, just in the
version.
face. That's it.
In the face,
not
yeah.
in the
His
other
dad was
physical
a
attributes.
beast coming off 2 ACL tears in college.
65.
I wrote my last thing that
Sounds
I mean.
about right.
Listen,
Doo-doo
there's not a lot of great stuff on here. If he even makes a roster, it would be as a
Because of his DNA.
no, it would be he would be a pass catching little guy. Like he can't operate in the NFL as an every down back in any capacity. He's not going to earn any kind of big role. I wish there was more tape out there. I did write that because I really liked his father. But from what I've seen, there's just not much there.
Undrafted.
There's just not much there.
Let's move on.
No bueno. Off my board.
Yep, agree. I'd rather have Mike Wiley.
Me too. Which stinks because I like Franco.
I'd rather
suck.
have the 86 receiver.
Attention Dynasty nerds. Want to play Dynasty like a pro? Check out FFPC, where serious Dynasty leagues have thrived since 2010. You can dive into a world of over 1,500 leagues with stakes ranging from $100 all the way up to an elite $5,000 league. FFPC isn't just a game, it's a community. With unique formats like Triflex and year-round trading, it keeps the fantasy spirit alive all year. Here's my favorite thing about FFPC leagues. They stand the test of time. They've never had a single Dynasty League fold thanks to their orphan season. When you join an FFPC league, you can count on it staying around. They've completely revamped their Dynasty for Sale pages now on the web and app, making it easier to scout and snag the perfect Dynasty team. Have you ever dreamed of turning a diamond in the rough into a champion? FFPC Orphans offers that exact thrill. Join the ranks of savvy managers at FFPC. Use our code NERDS for $25 off. Visit myffpc.com. Explore the Dynasty landscape. Find your next challenge. The FFPC, where your Dynasty journey begins. Remember, that's code NERDS for your special discount on your next league.
All right, next up, Audric
Tight end.
Estime.
Either works.
Estime. Notre Dame, 5'11" 3/8", 221 pounds, 10 1/4-inch hands, 32 3/8-inch arms, 76.5-inch wingspan. He is only 20 years old. He'll be 21 in September. In the 40-yard dash, it was not good, but we're not going to write him off because there's been other Notre Dame guys that were also not good.
It's fair.
And he ran a 4.71 in the 40. The 10-yard split was 1.58. He didn't run any of the cone drills. Probably wise. At the broad jump, 125 inches, 23 bench presses, and 38-inch vertical. So there are some explosive
measurables.
Explosive numbers in there. In 12 games last year, 210 carries, 1,341 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns, 17 receptions, 142 yards receiving, and no additional touchdowns through the air.
If you're going to run a 4.7,
don't run.
Don't run.
You do it at Chaprita.
So stupid.
Everyone knows that you're slow. We can see it on tape.
But you know what? Maybe he thought he was going to run better. Like some of these guys hype up their players and they say, "Oh yeah, you're going to crush it, bro. Yeah, you're going to," and then they don't.
All these guys better be running the 40 multiple times going into the combine. And you should know what you're going to do.
You should, but
Anyway.
Notre Dame running back, big bruiser type guy, right?
Austin Estime. Coming off
It's Audric, but
Not Austin.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Autocorrect.
Canadian.
Autocorrect voice. Canadian. Young, like you said, came in. It had a really good year, 1,341 yards, average 6.4, 18 touchdowns. Came in, set a school record this year with 18 rushing touchdowns, and do that at school at Notre Dame. That means something.
It does.
Right? So set a school record there. I liked his lateral agility for a guy of his size.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty nice to see him move laterally the way he did. I thought he showed some really good patience, sometimes a little bit too much patience, but good patience nonetheless. A big guy, but, I mean, this is somebody who his burst is pretty limited. His speed's very limited, and his 40 time showed that as well. I will say, for a guy that runs a 4.7, there's times on tape like he looked faster than that for
totally
sure. Like I thought his tape he looked faster than 4.7 on times.
I think he plays faster than 4.7.
See the play where he hurdled that dude? I was like, oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
he has good vertical.
He was able to get.
Yeah.
He was able to get to the edge sometimes and show some speed, but not enough speed. I guess is the best way to put it.
And it's build-up speed.
Totally.
Somebody, I mean, just real lethargic at times. To me, he's just a guy, a timeshare running back. Ding. That's what he is. This is a guy.
He is a timeshare guy. He should be a complimentary bruiser, goal line back for some team. I do think he's
a slower-footed A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
If you can. Yeah, sure. Yeah, because A.J.
Dillon has decent feet.
Dillon had pretty good feet. I think he can get, for a big guy, he can get small at times and get through some little crevices and stuff like that. But, yeah, I think he's the burst and the overall top speed, I think, is what's going to limit him in the NFL to just kind of you're going to operate on short yardage situations. You're going to operate at the goal line.
Yeah.
Get us a first down, get us a touchdown when we need it. If we need somebody to grind out a game at the end, we're going to give you the ball and you go do your thing. That doesn't equate to much from a fantasy standpoint, unfortunately. So it's going to be very difficult to say, hey, let's go out and get this guy. It would take a LeGarrette Blount type of 18 touchdown season for him to be fantasy football relevant, which is hard to find in the NFL.
And what's crazy with this is the kind of thing, like when I'm on Twitter and like I'm seeing things, and it really makes me question what other people see, because like I've seen other analysts say, oh, Estime, this is like one of my top rookie running backs in the class. Like, this is my guy. And I'm like, do you need to find another hobby?
What games did you watch?
I just don't.
That's
and I don't mean that. Like, I know I
ask.
say that and it comes out like pretty shitty. But like, it
are
really,
they fantasy football analysts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's what I mean. Like, not NFL analysts, like fantasy guys going, "Oh, this is my guy in the draft," and I'm like, I don't see it.
The question is like, what games did you watch? And if they watch some games that are different years, and go back and watch them, maybe you missed something. But
and maybe, but
that's
like,
what I do.
I mean, I don't watch just one game, though. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, I don't just, like you said, 4 games. Like, I try to put 4 games on there. And some guys, like, I fall in love with, like, Jane Daniels. Like, I'll watch all his games.
Yeah.
Like, I'll find guys.
Yeah, there are guys that I'll watch 8, 9, 10 games.
Yeah, Breece Hall. I watched every game I possibly could because, like, it was orgasmic watching that guy run. Like I said, it's like, I described him at the time, like, oh, watching him play was like watching him play, like, Madden when he knew all the plays coming. That's like watching Breece Hall. Like, Estime, it's just like I've seen this kind of guy before. Like there's not a lot of.
He's just like 6 to 7 for you, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's funny because you guys are low on him, and somehow I think I'm lower. What
do you have him at?
He has the worst score of all the guys I've graded so
I have a
far.
62. It's
I have a
pretty low.
61. Yeah, that's the worst score I've given
I
so
thought you
far.
gave somebody a 49 or something.
No, that was Jared.
I have a 64.
I didn't give anybody a 49. I gave somebody a 54.
59.
59.
But yeah, I didn't like his tape at
Wiley.
all.
I gotta get him
Honestly,
score.
like I can understand. Yes, there's some power and some physicality there, but that's really it. Like decent vision, but he waits, especially for somebody that lacks explosiveness. He waits way too long for the play to develop, and he's not somebody that can be creative in the backfield to make up for that. So a lot of times we'll see him get hit behind the line, and sure, he's physical, so fall forward, but you're getting back to the line of scrimmage. Like I don't see it at all.
Slow to and slow through.
Yeah, he's a worse he's a worse Braelon Allen without the upside. Like
I agree. He doesn't have the same kind of upside as Braelon Allen for me. And he's a
slower
scotch slower.
Yeah, and that not as explosive,
Yep.
which isn't saying much. I don't see much in the receiving game. Like
Agreed.
he can catch, but
We're
like
just shit.
No one's going to throw him the ball.
Yeah.
No one's going to use him as a pass catching option. For sure.
and like he had an awesome collegiate career, and that is awesome. But for fantasy football purposes, I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
I see it if he scores 18 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, there's a path.
He's going to be
for
limited
that
to
type of player.
Yeah,
There's
he's-
not a lot of running backs anymore with that type of size that can get you that goal line work.
I
But
guess I don't know. I just
it
don't.
really is.
And we have to remember next year's class. We can't say this enough. Next year's
It's
class
supposed to be a very good
is going
class.
to water down this class completely.
any class. I mean, isn't one of the worst running back classes we've graded.
It really is.
This is the worst class we've graded. Yeah,
Yeah.
as far as the nerds.
This is the
score.
worst I've seen since the Jacquizz Roger year.
Oof.
Yeah,
Which
which
was
is,
like-
I mean,
Now, granted,
Dynasty Nerds
there's
watching tape.
3 or 4 guys that I think could challenge for the top spot in next week's episodes. So
yeah.
this isn't
Yeah.
the whole class. We still
Oh,
have
yeah.
Benson, we have Lloyd, we have Corum, we have like
I'm really
some
excited
good
to watch
players.
Benson from what I've seen. Like he could end up being my top back.
Yeah,
And,
so-
I'm from your take, I'm really excited to watch Marshawn Lloyd as well.
Yeah. So there's definitely guys next week that will add to this that will help. But they're still going to probably fall in a similar range of Jonathan Brooks and Jaylen Wright. Good backs, but none of them are going to be elite.
Out of all those guys we've talked about, Jonathan Brooks and Jaylen Wright are the only guys I'm considering in the top 2 rounds of my rookie drafts right now.
I think that's absolutely fair.
True.
But
Braelon Allen possibly at the back half of the second round. Possibly.
depending on draft capital and where
Yes.
he goes. But we have one more guy to talk about.
We sure do.
We do.
Next up, Emani Bailey, TCU running back, 5'7" 3/8", 202 pounds, 9 3/4 inch hands, 29 and 7/8 inch arms, 70 3/4 inch wingspan. He is 22 years old. He'll be 23 at the end of November. In the 40, he ran a 4.61. He had a 1.57 10-yard split. He had a 116-inch broad jump, 33.5-inch vertical. Last year in 12 games, he had 223 carries, 1,209 yards, 8 touchdowns, 25 receptions, 184 yards, and an additional touchdown through the air, in the air, through the air,
When you
in the air,
in the air,
through the
I
air.
can feel it
by the air.
coming
Of
through
the air.
With the air.
So
In
Bailey was interesting for me because you saw the combine stuff, you saw the size, you saw the speed, the measured speed.
All bad.
It looked really
None
bad.
of it's good.
And it was a player that I was like, I mean, he's a TCU back. I feel like if there was anything there, I would have heard more and known more. Because for a guy that pays attention to college
They
stuff,
suck this year.
I really didn't know much about him at all. I didn't hate his tape.
Dude,
I'm with you, dude.
So
it blew
this
me
guy.
away. I thought it was gonna be the only. We all came in. And we all like. We all had the exact same
Yeah.
reaction because I'm with you.
This is this year's Khalil Herbert. That's what this is.
I
Late
mean,
round guy that we're all like, I kind of like this guy.
Like,
yeah.
I read all the measurables like you did, and I was like, this is the glass guy I studied,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a quick one.
I bet he runs like a bat out of hell.
And I was like,
Yeah.
every snap, I'm like, he was he get the ball. I'm like, That's a good
He
snap.
can make some guys miss. He's really good at catching the ball. He
Good balance.
I had a good comp to him.
Who?
I think for me, when I'm watching him, he feels like Devontae Freeman, and in that he's a smaller guy.
I don't hate that.
He's a smaller guy. He catches passes well. He can move laterally very well, like you said, make people
Very
miss.
well.
He's never taking on a full hit of a guy. You know what I mean? And 5'7", 202 pounds, you don't want to be taking on a full defender. You want to be able to move just enough so you're taking glancing blows. You're working on a half of a guy basically, and that's how you win when you're that sized at any level, and especially though if you're 202 pounds trying to do this in the NFL.
Right. Yeah. I came away. I even thought his vision was solid.
Dude.
I thought he had good patience. He kind of understood the blocking schemes and where to fit and where not to like. It didn't make sense. Like I didn't want to like him, but I came away like
eyes don't lie, man.
He's a solid.
Yeah.
He's a solid. I still think he's a day 3 guy.
Yeah, so do I.
I
But
think.
dude, we all this gets me excited. We all had the exact same reaction, like exact same.
Grade a 70 for me.
Even talking about
I had
it.
a
70 for you?
I had a 71.
Okay. I had just under a 69.
I like you said his vision. I liked his vision.
What's it going to take?
What's it going to take
gotta
to
up?
bump it from a 68.7 to a 69?
I thought a lot of his tape.
I bet you. Let's argue. Let's argue at least one thing that I can get you to bump him up.
What about burst? What do you have his burst at?
All right. So like acceleration. I have a 7.5 for acceleration.
Me too.
Yeah.
I
so
thought
do
I thought he had really good burst. What about his
7.5.
blocking?
I gave him a lower pass pro. I gave him 5.5.
I gave him 6.5 there. I thought it was pretty good.
I gave him a 6.5 too. You got it with
that's-
I got to
that's
bump
what
it
it
up. I
is,
got to
dude.
bump it up.
I came for his size. I came away extremely impressed.
The
by his
technique is
blocking
there.
ability.
His role is a pass catching role in the NFL.
For sure.
Oh, and dude, he lined up, obviously TCU, but he lined up outside a lot.
He did.
A lot.
Yeah.
But like, if you watch, like, if you go back, because there's a couple times where he was in the backfield, he blocked. A lot of times I like to stop the tape, go back, and like watch a good cut and look see what he saw. 2 different times I went back and watched his block and him stonewalling.
Okay, I'll go
guy
back and
bigger
watch
than
him a
him.
little bit
Like,
more because
bigger than him. I thought.
Same.
So
I'll go back and watch more.
that's where you're off at. I think his blocking is way better than you think it is.
He does a great job of moving his feet and getting to where that rusher is. And I think his recognition.
I was going to say the recognition and the technique looked really good. I saw a couple times he got beat pretty badly, so that's why it lowered for me, even though I liked his technique. But let me go back and watch and see what I can find. Because we have a lot of TCU
We'll get you that
overall
69.
that you can find.
Yeah.
I
As
think-
far as
I
like
think he can get there a
toughness
little
goes
higher.
too,
Okay.
I thought he's one of the tougher
He
running backs
played-
that I watched.
Yep.
In his
Real
play.
good
For his size,
balance. Good balance as well. I mean, now listen, I'm not screaming roof talk. This guy's a first round rookie pick,
No, same.
but this is one running back that I
In
will
the
have.
4th round, this is a type of guy you target.
He's under the radar.
I think he's potentially in the right spot, a 3rd round rookie pick. Like,
Maybe, but I think draft
he
capital will
offers the
dictate
upside.
that he doesn't need to be.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
Probably not, but this is you're right. If this is a guy if he's there in the 4th round, Emani Bailey from TCU, he's somebody I'm swooping up like every time in the 4th round. But where he go, this is a guy where if he gets in the right spot, he's a 3rd round pick for me because now we have a whole nother show to do. But of all these guys we talked about, 2 things that gets me excited: the tape, 3 things: the tape that I saw, and it is 2 things, and then how all of us, but
Or
all
was
of
it
us
a Wednesday?
were equally on the same page.
Yeah.
Because historically, when we are all on the same page,
guys-
about something like this,
Pretty solid hit rate.
Whether it's bad or good, we're right. Whether it be a Juju Smith-Schuster, a Chase Clay, like
Chase Claypool, we were all out and we looked really bad for 1 year.
Devin
And
Fun,
now
like
we
a
look
Devin
really
Funchess,
smart.
guys like that, that get the draft capital. Like when we're all on the same page and we're all excited about the exact same things, that gets me more excited. So like I was already like, I came into this show to do the show like, this was a player I kind of liked. But when I heard all of us excited about the exact same things that we kind of liked about, that gets me more excited. There's a better way to put it. So for me, Emani Bailey, running back out of TCU, like he's on my radar. And I think now the fact that we're all on the same page he'll get bumped up. How old was he too, Matt?
22 right now.
22.
Yep.
So pretty average age.
Yeah, so he'll get bumped up in my overall probably rankings and running back rankings some just because of that. Because a lot of these guys, like you said, even like I like him more than Ray Davis because there's some upside there, right? Like,
there's juice in his game.
Yeah. And remember, and when Matt told me Devontae Freeman, that actually, I was like, oh, yeah, that does remind me a lot too. Like a later round draft pick guy that, Matt, but now to be fair, Matt actually liked Devontae Freeman a lot coming out. Like he actually you took him in the second round of a lot of rookie drafts.
I got him I think it was the second round.
I think
it might have even been late first.
I remember you were significantly higher than the consensus
I had him on
Devontae Freeman.
I had him on a lot of teams because
Was there even a consensus back then?
I don't know. I just know Matt
amongst
between
Rich
us and DLF. The consensus was
I was abnormally high on Kareem Hunt coming out. Like I liked him a lot coming out. Then the consensus, and I was like, everybody else gives this guy. I remember watching this film. I was like, right now, everybody's saying this guy going to back in the second. I guarantee by come draft day, this guy will be a first round rookie pick. That's how good I felt about Kareem. But I remember Matt being really high on Devontae Freeman, way more than I was. Like I thought he was a nice running back, but like I like that comp a lot. A lot to him.
I'm trying right now to find Aaron Jones's measurables because I think he's another guy that came in pretty small, almost around 200, maybe 205 pounds. So he might be.
Freeman was thicker though, wasn't Freeman weighed like 220.
No, Freeman was smaller as well. I
know he's short, but I thought he was stockier.
I know I don't have that. I don't have that far back. So.
Aaron Jones draft combine measurables are 5'9.5", 208.
208. Okay. Yep.
2 inches taller.
I finally got to it. Yep.
But yeah, Emani Bailey, that's good. I'm glad we're all on the same page there. Yeah. A fun watch, fun one a pleasant cherry on top of all that film.
Absolutely, I had a 5 for his patience, and I said you said that you liked his patience, so I think in a 6 for his vision. Like those two things are really bringing his score down because we put a lot of weight into those two things. Yeah. So maybe I'll go back and watch.
You go watch that. I'll go watch his pass protection.
Yeah,
I thought there's a lot of times where I saw him running in the back of his line, which I hate seeing that. I'm like, slow down, let your blocks develop, and that was the only con really I saw in his game.
I thought some of that was. I'm with you though on the patience. I thought some of it was okay. I thought he followed his defender, like his block, pretty well.
Yeah, to me it seemed like he was doing that to try to set up the defender.
Yeah,
but I'll go back and watch too because that's something that I do too. I hate it when it's just smacking into him. To me, it seemed intentional to try to set up the defender and then bust it outside. But
yeah, forever just like you run out of bat of hell. I'm like, slow down.
It's forever called the Trent Richardson.
Oh,
nobody ran into their offensive lineman worse than Trent Richardson.
I saw AJ Dillon do a lot in college.
There was somebody else,
habitual butt sniffer.
Who was the guy that ended up going to Jacksonville? Armstead. Armstead did that so much. I don't know if you guys remember him. He would have been 4 or 5 years ago.
Ron Armstead.
Yep.
I don't remember him.
No,
he doesn't. He doesn't stick out for me.
He was the year before James Robinson.
Reichwell
Arms.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. He. I mean, so many times there was zero patience.
The worst running backs that just get the ball and they don't care where.
He was going straight.
What gap is it, Coach? I'm going there.
That gap's supposed to be right here. I'm running right here.
Right. You said between the 3 and the 5 on the field.
Anthony McFarland was another one.
He did do that a little bit.
I liked Anthony McFarland.
I wanted.
He was out of Maryland, right?
Yeah. He was so fast.
Yeah. He was shit.
It's no instincts.
God, now you say it. Bailey's tape is a little bit like McFarland.
Like
now he does kind of remind me of Anthony McFarland.
Now brought him down a little bit.
I liked McFarland's tape a little bit.
McFarland was definitely faster though. He ran like a 4.3.
He got drafted by Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't go
still
anywhere.
On that team.
So
at least he was last year.
Yeah, he was. He was still there last year.
That's it for this rookie running back class. We have one more to do. We have 2 more shows to do. We'll be back next week to break and finalize this running back class, which then will be halfway. Well, no, because we have a lot of receivers to talk about.
A lot of receivers.
To talk about. So, fun class. If you enjoyed the show, leave a rating and review wherever you are listening. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, we'd love a rating and review. It really does help get the show out there. Keep us at the top of the charts. We got a lot of fun stuff coming. A lot more rookie stuff to come ahead. One more running back, 3 weeks of receivers, 1 of tight ends, and then we're going to be at the NFL draft. And I cannot wait.
So fun. One of the best weekends of the year.
All right. Toodaloo.
Adios.